having obtained his bachelor's in mathematics from Hindu College, University of Delhi. He completed his master's from ISI Kolkata, following which he pursued his PhD in economics from Harvard University. He is the author of about 20 books and 10 research papers, and also co-authored a research paper that went on to win Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences. During his career, he has held many important positions like a cabinet minister, an associate professor at Harvard University, a professor at IIT Delhi, and much more. Currently, he serves as the chairman of the Board of Governors of the SCMS Group of Educational Institutions in Kerala. He has also worked relentlessly to improve the bilateral relations between India and several other countries. Many consider his stand against the 2G scam to mark the beginning of the whole anti-corruption movement of India. His unparalleled dedication and hard work has earned him many laurels like Distinguished Alumni Award by University of Delhi and the Tamil Ratna Award. Needless to say, being a dynamic and versatile personality, he has had many chances of interacting with young minds like ours. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome upon stage Dr. Subramanian Swamy. Now I would also like to invite upon stage Director Dr. Gautam Biswas to felicitate him. Everyone, please maintain the decorum during the lecture. I would now like to request Dr. Swamy to take the dais.
Honorable Director, professors and students of IIT Guwahati. Our goal since for long, but more especially since the last 3 years, has been how to convert the present India to become a global economic and political power. India was once upon a time the leading global country in terms of global power. We were the most developed economically. People from all over the world used to come here and write praises about us. We invented a lot of important concepts in mathematics, the zero, the decimal point, calculus, and even if you read the American books on the history of rocketry, they say the first country which used rocketry in battle was India. And that a specimen of that rocket was taken to England, copied, and then they improved on it, and that's how it spread to the West. Unfortunately, foreign invasions of our country had put a brake on this, and we began declining from the year 1200 continuously and more sharply after the British came to India. So now, after poverty, after reaching the depths of poverty in 1947, became free, tried to recover that ground. But we have made major mistakes. First of all, the adoption of the Soviet economic model, which was unsuited for India because it was based on the principle that you can extract resources from agriculture to finance industrialization. And this model was totally inappropriate for us because the British, through the zamindari system, had completely bled dry the agriculture sector, and it was completely devastated by the time 1947 came. But Jawaharlal Nehru had this vision of Soviet economic model as most suitable for ideological reasons, and Soviet economic model was prevalent in our country from 1947 to 1990, when Mr. Chandrasekhar became Prime Minister and I became the senior-most minister of that government. We dismantled it, and after dismantling, Mr. Narasimha Rao came to office, and he asked me also to join with him, although I decided not to join Congress because I knew Congress belonged to a family and everybody else was a tenant there. Therefore, I told Narasimha Rao, it's only a matter of time before we are turned out, so I prefer to do something else. So he gave me a cabinet rank position and he made Manmohan Singh the finance minister. During the time of Chandrasekhar, Manmohan Singh was our economic advisor. But then he became finance minister. The three of us then put together the economic reform package. Unfortunately, all the credit went to Manmohan Singh. It should have gone to Narasimha Rao. I mean, I produced the blueprints, but blueprints any scholar can produce. But the implementation was done by him. So there was an acceleration of the growth rate, which needs to be continued now. And I think the next 10 years, we can certainly get ahead of China, and we can become another 20, 25 years to challenge the United States' primacy in the world affairs. Now the IITs have become important for that reason, because the brightest students come to IIT. They get engineering degrees, some of them then go on and take to management sciences and then become entrepreneurs. Some of them also end up in jail. When I was teaching in IIT Delhi, I had a very bright student called RAJYA, and he asked me for a recommendation to go to Harvard, which I did, and he entered. He became very good, and he performed very well. Then he became McKinsey's chairman, later on Goldman Sachs chairman, and then I think greed for money got him, and he ended up in jail. Now, of course, he's just come out of jail. I hope he doesn't go back again. So this IIT has produced the finest brains. We haven't been able to use them fully because our own country actually suppresses people, doesn't encourage people. So those who have stayed on have done it very gallantly. I myself have had a problem. When I came back from Harvard and became a professor, a full professor at IIT Delhi, at a very young age, 28, because I was already an associate professor and I was about to become a full professor. So they had to make me a professor. But my ideas against the Soviet model was not liked by Mrs. Gandhi. So one day she issued a fatwa, remove him. And at 5:15 I got a letter from the director that you're no more a professor at IIT from effect 5 o'clock. When I tried to argue with him, he said, no, I got orders from the top, you go to court. I did go to court. But it took me 22 years to win the case. And the court said, this whole dismissal was totally illegal, and therefore Swami continues to be a professor at the IIT. So I went back and became professor for one day because I was already cabinet minister at that time. And then on the record of IIT, I am a professor for 22 years. And so I've asked for my back salary for 22 years. But I insisted that it should be at 18% interest. So IIT is pleading with me to do it at 10%. I said no, 18%. And I'll win another court case on that. And by the time I win it, I will probably have a couple of crores in my pocket. Of course, I entered politics because there was nothing else I could do in India. They had blocked everything. So either go back to Harvard or I do something else. I'm giving this example as what people have to go through to transform society. So I entered politics, I became a member of parliament, and then in 1977 the Janata came to power. And the first thing Morarji Desai as Prime Minister asked me, did the IIT remove you from your professorship? I said, yes, I'm still fighting a court case. He said, I'm appointing you on the board of governors of IIT Delhi. So I said, how can I go to that board which dismissed me? The same people are still members of the board. He said, don't worry, I've dismissed all of them. And so for 5 years I served on the board of IIT and then the council of the IIT. So I'm saying that these things are part of the churning process in our country. And all of us must resolve to fight this. But to become an economically developed country, we need to understand that it's not more capital and more labor that produces growth. It does produce growth, but the more you put in capital, the more you put in labor, it's subject to diminishing returns. So the additional growth rate starts petering down. So if you want to, instead of moving along a curve, capital and labor and the growth path, instead of moving along that curve, if you want to jump curves, then there's only one way we have known in economics and economic history, and that is by innovations, new ways of doing things. For example, Britain was a poor country relative to India. But then after the resources of India became available with Robert Clive and others taking it all back, they invested in science and the locomotive was discovered. Bessemer steel blast furnace was invented. And these two then created the Industrial Revolution in Britain. That same imitation by France, Germany and all made them also developed. We could not imitate because the British wouldn't allow these things to come to India till very late stage. Then the Americans came and they had new methods of production, the integrated system of production, that the raw material comes from one door and the final product comes out of the other door, because they had labor shortage. And then they went in further, electricity, electric bulbs, then the teleprinter system, then the jet engines came, and then of course fax machines, and finally the end of this last century we invented the internet, which has transformed everything in business and in personal interactions and so on. So innovation is crucial, and we need to motivate our IIT students to go for innovation. Innovation is a special, it requires special qualities in a human being, because you can never know whether you will succeed or not. And therefore you have to identify the problem and then go ahead with it. For example, there is water shortage in India. two states of India, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, all the time fighting over Kaveri. But if they decide to set up, Tamil Nadu decides to set up 4 desalination plants along the coastal line, there will be enough water to be produced to not only to satisfy Tamil Nadu, its people and their farmers, but you can also pump water in the opposite direction of Kaveri so it reaches Karnataka and they also get some water. That is the extent to which desalination seawater does. Today in India, some private companies have started using it. The nuclear reactor Kalpagam is using it for creating drinking water for its people who are scientists who are living in the campus. In Jamnagar, the Jamnagar Corporation municipality told I think the Reliance company, they told them that we cannot supply you water because we have no water for our own citizens. So they set up a desalination plant, which I think you should go and see. It's a huge desalination plant. They take seawater and convert it into drinking water by removing the salt. And today, the Jamnagar oil refinery is giving water to the municipality of Jamnagar instead of their giving it to the institution. So, therefore, here is a solution. You need not quarrel about water. And if you quarrel about water, it goes on perennially. What you need to do is find new innovations by which this problem can be solved. Similarly, we have a terrible engineering problem. We have rivers which are in flood every year. We have rivers which have no water at all. And therefore, if you have a water grid from, say, Ganga to Kaveri, then there will be not only no water problem, but the canal which passes from Ganga to Kaveri will pass through those areas like Rayalaseema in Andhra, which have never seen water or have always had a water famine. And this way you conserve the water, you prevent flooding. So, but the problem is how to go from Ganga and over the Deccan down to Kaveri. That technological problem has not been solved. This is something which some of you should address it. Now we have a question. You must remember one thing, that our agriculture is perhaps potentially the most productive sector of our economy. Potentially. Right now it is not. The reason is that even today, the yield per acre, despite being so low, the product is the cheapest in the world. Rice is cheaper than Japan's, wheat is cheaper than the Americans, fruits are cheaper than the Europeans, flowers are better and cheaper than Amsterdam. So this agriculture could be developed. And God has been kind to this country because 12 months of the year you get sunshine. That's not so in the United States. 4 months of the year or 5 months of the year there is snow, so they can't do agriculture. Same thing with most parts of Europe. Same thing with some parts of China. But India is one country where you can do agriculture 12 months of the year, which means you can grow 3 crops. At present we are only growing in 25% of the land more than 1 crop. But if we grew 3 crops all over India, provided all the other facilities are made available like water and so on, water, pesticide, fertilizer, etc., then you will triple your production. And if your soil mechanics is good, then you might even not only triple, but the yield might go up. For instance, if you go to the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, or the IARI, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, plots. These are experimental plots. They are growing on the same mud and land of India, 6 times more than the average output of agriculture. So if in Indian agriculture, IARI's experimental plot, you can grow 6 times more, Why can't you go 6 times by replicating the same thing all over the country? Now, these are areas which require intelligent brains to be applied. And that's why the education should be geared for that. Unfortunately, most of us are still belong to the old days of being risk averters. We look for jobs. I addressed the Indian Institute of Management in Ahmedabad. At dinner time, I asked the students, you have come through this terrific competition to join IIM MBA course. What are you going to get? What are you aiming at? He said, if we get the chop of the Indian Institute of Management MBA degree, then we'll get a job very quickly with good salary. I said, is that all you're working for? He said, why not? You look at the Hindustan Times matrimonial column, the IIM get more dowry than other people. Now, this is a very negative attitude. You should say, I want to transform the corporate culture, I want to improve the efficiency, I'm going to devote my attention to that. No, it's only the job. This job security comes out of the fact that people are afraid of risk. What will happen if I lose what I've already got? And even in Harvard, when I was teaching students, which we had almost 40 countries represented, and at the end of the course and the exams and everything was over, I would hold a class just for a chit-chat. And I would ask the students, now that you've got to get a degree, what are you going to do? And I said, give you 2 alternatives. You invest, you take risk, and then like Microsoft, Bill Gates or somebody else, like the Apple genius, you might become a billionaire. Or of course, there's a risk that you may lose everything and fall flat on your face. Or would you like a job where you get a salary, every year it increases 5%, your pension, provident fund, gratuity all being accumulated, and at the age of 60 or 65, you retire, all this pension gratuity is given to you, buy a house and watch television for the rest of your life. You like that stable, nice job. And the Americans would ask me, what's the probability that I will be like Bill Gates? Or that I will fall flat on my face? And if you tell us that, then we will tell you which job you would prefer. That's called risk-taking, risk analysis. But my class, the Indian students unanimously would say, no, we want the second job. We'll look for the second kind of job. I said, why? That's guaranteed poverty. Why would you do that when you can become a billionaire? And the unanimous answer of Indians was, when it is guaranteed, even if it is guaranteed poverty. This search for guarantee is the weakness that we Indians have. And that has to be washed out from your brain. You must now come out of IIT and become entrepreneurs. Take risk, fall flat, get up again, do it again. The world, if you read the biographies of great men, you will find people have never had a straight line success. It's always been a kind of a roller coaster ride for them. And that is why I think even our educational system should teach that to this art of risk-taking, the art of asking questions, why not a better way, instead of just trying to improve. Even our software industry, where we have made such a name, we have not yet been able to produce a design. We have not been able to produce a Microsoft type software. We are essentially taking their software and doing it efficiently and quickly. We are doing what is called as a blue-collar job for the Western world. And of course, we have benefited by that because many people have improved their careers and their level of living. But this is not what the end. You started off, now you got the opening, now go for adventurous paths. That requires risk-taking and a risk-taking mentality. Now, we say the same thing if I were to point out power. You can generate so much power in our country. I'm not talking about hydroelectric power of taming the Brahmaputra or something like that. We have 60% of the world's thorium in our country. 60% of the world's thorium is in India, in the sands of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. That's why sand smuggling takes place. I used to think, why would anybody smuggle sand? But then I found out that sand has monazite, which is got thorium. And the world is presently using only uranium. We also, after signing the agreement with the Americans in 2005, we are now increasingly dependent on uranium. But uranium will get exhausted in 2050. And the Americans have quietly started research on thorium. We have got 60% of thorium. Homi Bhabha did know this, and he had found there are 3 stages to be cracked. 2 stages in his lifetime he cracked. But now we have stopped that research. The day we do the 3rd stage, thorium becomes usable uranium, U-233. Then it gets converted in a reactor. It will give you so much power that you can sell it to all your neighbors. You'll have surplus of power. In fact, you may even have to not charge for power to distribute that power. That's how much power you can generate. This is the potential of this country. And we are today dependent on the Arab countries for oil. Fortunately, the price is low. But tomorrow it goes back to the old level. We are again in trouble. So we have to find a substitute for this, and particularly for automobiles. Research is now available for hydrogen fuel cells for driving automobiles. The Toyota company in Japan is already bringing out a model. The Germans are bringing out a model. But we need to do that because the bulk of our export earnings goes to pay for oil. So this work nobody is doing in India. Hydrogen fuel cells here and there are here, but there's no systematic thing to solve the problem, make it economic, and then convert it. See, after all, if you have hydrogen fuel cells, every night you have to charge the power. And if you charge overnight, you can drive up to 300 kilometers. But if you have power stations on the way, instead of petrol pumps, you have power stations where you can charge your hydrogen fuel cell batteries. You will be able to be free of oil from abroad, and you will become a much stronger country. So we have, therefore, a variety of things which we need IIT students to focus on. But most of all, I would say, you need to not do the traditional way of learning. You need to understand your mind. Today, IIT will only teach you cognitive intelligence. What is mathematics, what is physics, what is civil engineering, etc., etc. But that is not intelligence sufficient for being productive in life. Now we have known, and we are, of course, our ancient rishis knew it a long time ago, but now the Americans are given the same knowledge in fancy terms. Like now, they have completely appropriated our yoga and are giving it all kinds of other names, including Christian yoga. But the fact is that this was known to our rishis and munis, but we have forgotten it because of the 800 or 1000 years of foreign invasions and occupation. In particular, what I want to say is, intelligence is several dimensions. In our universities, we only teach cognitive intelligence. What you need to teach is something called emotional intelligence. How do you express your views in such a way that the chance is maximum that the other side may listen to you and get converted to you. If you argue in an aggressive way, it just ends up in a quarrel, and people take their rigid stance. So this is a great art, and it can be misused, of course. Hitler was a great one at emotional intelligence. He converted the most educated Nobel Prize winners to take a view which was the most retrograde possible view, because he had emotional intelligence. So besides emotional intelligence, you have to have moral intelligence, to know that you will not do or argue or propagate what would be immoral or something that would harm somebody else who has no connections with you or is in no way confronting you. So this is another dimension of your mind. Same way, social intelligence. You will not for profit maximization pollute the atmosphere. You can make quick profits by polluting the atmosphere, but that is not your social intelligence. So this is another branch which has to be taught to you, that in your pursuit in life, you will not see that your society is harmed. And you take a healthy attitude to see that the social fabric and the environment is protected. And finally, the Rishi Munis have always talked about spiritual intelligence. This is the term not of mine, it's the American term. They are now teaching it in the Harvard School of Education.